Good day, everyone. Again, we are back in Voice of Mississauga. Uh, it's election time. We are just away from provincial elections. Now we are heading for the federal elections, and we will see a lot of campaign, the signboards all across the city. Uh, what we felt during the provincial elections that a lot of people wanted to vote, but they were not much aware of the candidates and their background information. So we thought, why not each and every riding in Mississauga and each and every candidate should come out and at least speak. And we from Voice of Mississauga, we showcase that to our viewers and let them at least know who their candidates are. Right. So right now we have two of the candidates who are running for Mississauga ridings. We have Amit Gupta. He is running for Mississauga Cooksville. Yes. And we have Nathan Quinlan. He is running from Mississauga Martin region. Right. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us here.
From our side, I'm Ashish and Indrani. So both of us will be just having some random questions and to understand each other. Yeah, Indra. So.
Okay. So, can you introduce yourself first and explain why you decided to run for this riding in Mississauga? And what, if there are any specific issues that motivated you to kind of run for this?
Gonna go ahead. Want to start?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm Nathan Quinlan. I am in Mississauga Moulton, and one of the main reasons that I chose to ride, specifically to go for this riding, and it's because I live in the area. I've lived here for over 10 years, and I've chosen People's Party because I looked at platforms of different parties. 2 years ago, or before I signed up for this, I was not able to find anything that the Conservative parties had on their platform. Google failed me. It turned out having to go to the Wayback Machine to dig in to find something. People's Party is right there. It's been there consistently. And my background is in IT. I have 3 young children. And another reason to go with the People's Party is we have an very well established track record of the existing parties not doing what they say, as well as, shall we say, doing things that people really don't want. In the process of going through and helping other candidates for doing raising awareness of the party and talking to people, you can find out very quickly that, they don't agree with what has been done, but they're still inclined to vote with whoever they've decided to vote for. And that's one of the reasons I want to get out there is let's talk about it. Let's get informed about it. And please read more.
Absolutely. Thanks, Nathan. Hi, everybody. My name is Amit Gupta. I am the People's Party of Canada's candidate from Mississauga East Cooksville. I am an engineer by background, which I did in India. I moved out of India about 25 years ago, and I went to the US on a scholarship to complete my master's, and I did my MBA in, master's in science, and then I did my MBA in finance and accounting. So I like to study. That's what I was trying to say. I first came to Canada in 2002-3 when I was still in the US, working in the US, and I really liked Canada. I absolutely loved it. I thought people were nicer. People were calmer. People wanted to take care of each other. People were happy. And that kind of left an lasting impression in my mind. So after working in the US for 10 years, I met a girl here, and then I decided to move here. I said, hey, I'm a consultant. IT consultant by background. Why don't move to Canada? Because I love it. It's easier for me to move. And in Canada, I've been, spending time with finance and IT strategy consulting, helping companies innovate, modernize, and save costs. Like I've helped companies save more than $5 billion in cost, real hard cost, in the last 20 years. And I feel, and that's a skill set I want to bring to the government. Now, why did I choose to run, and why People's Party? And I'm going to try to be as succinct as I can because I like to talk a lot. I started noticing that the fabric of Canada, our environment, the opportunities, the happiness of the people, and how people were feeling generally started changing in about 2017, 2018. I started noticing it. It was a slow change happening in the society, but we started experiencing it, that people were generally not happy. People were struggling. And then we saw this rampant, deterioration of services. Healthcare it's known to everybody, healthcare was declining. Then the COVID happened, prices started increasing, affordability became a challenge, even with people with, who have stable jobs, good income, they were struggling too. And then, there is a thing that happened in 2022 where our government decided to exercise emergency laws to trample on democracy. That what really made my ears stood up and said, hey, this is not right. Canada is a democratic country. We need to protect democracy. So I started looking around. And when I looked around, I looked at, all the major parties' platform, and I stumbled upon People's Party of Canada. That was my first, actually, introduction to People's Party of Canada. Read their platform. I spent probably a number of months thinking about, what to do. And I finally decided to stand up. I'm like, I can keep complaining. I can keep complaining about cost. I can keep complaining about crime. I can keep complaining about how government is wasting money. I can keep complaining about how, the lack of standards of education in our schools, in our universities, like they're teaching kids things that kids are not ready for. Like, we are all for inclusion of many ways, but people need to grow up. Kids need to grow up to understand what that really means for them. We need to let kids be kids. And that's why I started to step up. And People's Party was the only party that kind of resonated with me. They wanted to control the root of the problem. Like, they wanted to cure the problem. Some people, they're just giving you placebos, like I call it, other parties' platform. But People's Party's policies will cure the systematic problem that we have in the society. Uncontrolled immigration, we are all for immigrants, but
Sure, Amit. Not to cut you short there, we will have specific questions for immigration and healthcare and specific how we proceed further. Where we were coming from is why this specific riding? Do you see any specific local issues that is related with you?
Think that really
Okay. No, perfect. We will be going. And we put
this riding, because I live in Mississauga, this is home. We need to take care of it. Now, the issues in Mississauga, Cooksville, like any other, may be slightly different. Healthcare facilities in Cooksville, it's very hard to get access to the the crime has increased significantly, small crime, big crime. I have talked to maybe, many people. Everybody is concerned that their car might get stolen or somebody might break into their house. And one of the most important things that really concern me is youth unemployment. A lot of the youth, early teens, early adults, they cannot find jobs because they're competing with a pool of resources that, they just can't compete against right now.
And Nitin, if I can understand why the Marlton region, did you specifically chose that?
Well, I didn't specifically choose it to move to. My wife and I just happened to move here. It was like over 10 years ago now that I think about it. And it's the case where it's just a natural fit of the last election, People's Party did not have a candidate. And that was upsetting to me, to say the least. So when the first collection of people who are interested in becoming candidates, please, send in your resume, criminal background check, and all the other information. So they solicited to the membership. I decided right then, after talking to my wife, that I would do it. I'd go through there and I would make this commitment of my volunteer time and my own money to help to support the party that I believe in and to help to spread the message.
So are there local issues in Mountain that you were aware of that, really, something that you want to work for?
Specifically, There's nothing specific because the message or the complaints seem to be very much overlapping with Amit and other people as well, that, crime is an issue. You can go to Peel Police and look on their maps and see all the crimes that have been reported over the last year. You can take a look at your neighborhood, and some neighborhoods you can see, wow, there's like 3 vehicles that have been stolen in that particular street. And you can get an idea of how things are going, and you can take a look at other areas as well.
So the why we are a little bit asking that is we know all of us are aware that there are concerns, there are issues, and everybody would love to address those right now. While we talk about all the different things about healthcare, about crime, or in addition, what would be the top priorities of your party, right? And if I have to filter that further, that top means if we get the mandate, or if you get the mandate, right, then in the first 100 days, what do you think that will be the first thing which you would like to do that?
Okay. As a candidate specifically pushing here, there are certain things that can be done. Even if the People's Party does not have a majority government, an elected candidate is still fully capable of addressing the crime issue. There are strategies that are available. The key point is, as elected candidate, you're now on the payroll effectively. Yeah. And you are beholden to all the people there. So the question ends up being selectively doing photo ops, going to businesses and photo op, going to things like, this is a woman's award for this, that, or whatever, and spending all those hours. Why are you not going door to door? I know myself, in the process of gathering signatures and for informing people, the People's Party, I'm going to be talking to people door to door. Now, the election came early. I was originally planning to do this in the spring all the way to October, every day going door to door to talk to people and specifically to find out about this. As elected official, again, you can say things in Parliament that an individual cannot. The government has passed certain speech laws that regulate what you can and cannot talk about. A member of Parliament has that protection. A single individual cannot say certain things in public or talk about certain topics in public. So as a result, this is something that an elected official can do. And for that, it's going to be, take care of the crime thing. Take a look at employment, specifically youth employment. Employment is affected by immigration, and employment is affected by other factors that are not getting talked about, something like AI. I've already posted on my Twitter and my personal experience with AI, in that a lot of desk jobs are going to be at risk. I mean, I'm talking easily 20 to 30% of the jobs gone in less than 5 years. And if I was to put an estimate, I put it on my Twitter, it's over 50%, I would estimate.
But that's how the industries are changing, Nathan, right? We won't be able to stop that, right?
Correct. But at the same time, this is unique. This is not the introduction of the automobile whereby people who did deliveries or raised horses or whatever, they get impacted. This is literally everything with a computer. So that means businesses that do logistics. I know that customer support demands are being made by customers to them. In the case of any kind of software development, call centers, medications. I know of a company that's currently trying to replace the majority of doctors' offices where the receptionists are contacting patients. The AI contacts the patient, collects the information, associates with them, socializes with them. That's a whole set of jobs that are just gone. So it's an impact of, this is bigger than anything we've seen in civilization at this point. So it's going to be a big issue. But crickets, we're distracted by Trump. We're distracted by everything. There's all sorts of distractions being brought up to hide specifically certain topics, especially crime and other things. The saying is, why is the dog not barking? What is not being talked about by the Liberals, the Conservatives, the NDP, and the Green? There's something there. What are they not talking about? Take a look, see, and then ask questions.
Absolutely. Well, that was a great answer. I'd follow up. But so from my perspective, I think your question is, what will I do in the first 100 days?
Yes.
So
One of the most important responsibilities of an elected official, an MP, is to help bring laws and regulations and pass bills to the table so that they can be passed. I've actually written 3 bills already. I think, one day I will be an MP, but I've written 3 bills. There are a lot of MPs right now who have not presented a private member bill in the last 10 years, right? Or even through their whole service. So my first bill, if I had the chance to sit in the parliament, would be around crime. And it's around the concepts of castle doctrine, right? So basically what it allows you to do is pass regulations and laws and regulations that allow you as an individual to protect your home, to protect your family, and to protect wherever you are, protect yourself from harm. In today's world, like if I think what you heard, we all heard a few months ago when I think it was Toronto police who said, hey, if you think the robbers are coming to your house, leave the keys at the door, and this whole became a meme there. And you know why? It's because they don't want you to engage with them. There are laws that protect criminals. Like if you today catch a criminal on recording, and something up,
You're going to bail the next day.
you get bailed, but you as an individual, you're not even allowed to share that information outside, post a video. The police will come down to your house and tell you to take it down because it violates a criminal's privacy. Like how stupid is that? So I think, as an individual, as a family man, as a father, if somebody is trying to bring harm to me or my ecosystem, my business, whatever it is, I should be able to take a stand and stand my ground. That's one of the first bills I will put on the table. The second is financial accountability. Now think about this. Like we worked in enterprises, all of us, right? Why do enterprises succeed? How can they manage their expenses? Like you can't earn $1,000 and spend $2,000, right? Because there is no accountability. You think there is this like tree somewhere that's just, growing money on the tree. So what I want to do is bring the concept of financial accountability into every ministry and open up all public contracts for citizens to see how the money is being spent, right? So our citizens should be able to see if somebody signed a contract, gave a contract to any company in the world, it should be traceable online, how much money was given, what was the terms and conditions, and let the citizens know that for them to see what their money is being spent. I think every ministry should have a scorecard on how they're doing. Today, there are no benchmarks how we can compare, how we can validate, or how we can evaluate how ministries are doing. Well, like, what is their mandate? Like, what is the mandate of housing? Minister of Housing. Is their mandate to
Incredible item.
right? So they should put a benchmark saying, hey, these are the things you are measured on. And if you don't do that, and we should open that report and data to every citizen to see how those ministers are doing or that ministry is doing, bring financial accountability to the table. And the third is, I think, which is related to financial accountability, bring a bill forward to cut down all external funding. Okay. Every time any ministry puts a request to do any kind of external funding for any reason for any reason that they want to do, they should be answerable to the citizens why that money needs to be spent outside than internally. Like in the last 10 days of the cabinet, they spent over $1 billion. They gave away $1 billion to issues that, to external issues, to external countries, right? $900 million or $800 million to Bangladesh, 100 to Somalia. And I just heard Carney also gave more than 100 million to another country when our people are struggling. Like, Brampton needs a hospital, Mississauga needs a hospital. Why don't you build hospitals here? That's what I want to do in the first 100 days. I will be the voice. I will not follow the line of the leaders. I will be the voice of, my morals and my principles and speak up and bring these bills forward.
I mean, that's also one of the key distinctions of the People's Party is you have the latitude to do that.
Yes.
Other parties have a very strict leash rules what you can and cannot say, and it's very tightly controlled. This is why you have something like Bill C-4 passed unanimously. Are there some candidates that perhaps opposed it? Potentially, but they were all forced to go along with it because the party whip was going to enforce loyalty is that. In the case of the People's Party, no, there are no such restrictions. And that is nice. You can speak your mind. People do speak their mind to Maxime, and some things do end up actually changing and the overall policy as a result of that.
No, we have seen that happening with many other parties, that if you don't follow the leadership, you get the whip. It's
Exactly. Or if you challenge,
I think
you have today's position is party whip. Every party does have that whip position, and people are pointing to it, and that's what they're supposed to do. Their job is to enforce the will of the prime minister.
So, talking about finance, economy is always a very hot topic. But I believe that BPC advocates for reduced government spending.
Right.
So can you provide specific examples of programs or services that you would cut, and how would that impact Canadians?
So, okay, before we get into there, so I think it's interesting to note, I didn't bring the data, but I think the size of the federal government has increased by, I think it has doubled almost in the last 10 years, right? Now, think about it. Has the population doubled? Are we getting twice the service? Like, am I twice better? When healthcare, is the crime decreasing? Like, what are they doing? I don't know. Like, our border services and other services are struggling with resources, while the government spending is increasing. If you actually look at the data, we would have been underemployed and our rate of employment would have been declining for the last 10 years if the government hadn't stepped in and hired so many people. So an example you asked, right? Very simple example. We have let's say we have population of 41 million right now, right? We have our wonderful CRA that likes to, enforce tax regime on us. Do you know how many employees they have? Not exactly. About 70,000 employees. Okay. Now, compared to our neighbor down south, which have a much bigger economy, 10x, probably 11x the population right now. Yep. You know how many employees does IRS have? 93,000. Okay. So if they're able to serve 10x the population with 93, what are our employees doing? Now, yes, some people will say, hey, we have better service and all that stuff. We have better service because we have such complicated bureaucracy that people have to keep asking the questions. What Nathan said about AI, like if you look at like Blind AI and a couple of other companies, they are pushing technologies where you would not even need people to answer calls. The AI will do it for you. Like we have technology right now, right? So that's one example. I would say we have a lot of ministries that are actually not doing anything. We need to cut down that ministries. Like they should be accountable to a smaller, I would say, set. A lot of the ministries should be accountable and rolled into, let's say, Ministry of Finance and others, because that's what
Question on that.
yeah, and that's how you bring change in this process. Like think about it, technology and just technology innovation can probably cut down the size of excessive government spending by 20 to 30%.
So, but are we following the similar lines how our neighbors are doing with Dodge, or similar kind of concept where it's all about making the government departments efficient, measuring the efficiencies? Is it something in the similar lines?
So it is absolutely. Actually, what I would like to say is like those just became popular now. Yeah. If you go back to Maxime's timeline, look at his tweets. He called out for Ministry of Government Reduction in 2019. Yeah. 2019 or 2020, right? 2019, 2020. He has been calling for this. Like Maxime, a lot of people probably in Mississauga don't know about Maxime. He's a French Canadian. He's been he was a lawyer, and he worked in finance for 20 years before he stepped into politics, and was the Minister of External Affairs or Foreign Affairs for a long time under Harper, right? And had been an MP for a long time. Like he has sensible policies. He's been calling since 2014. He has been calling out the issues that people call him names for that are all true today.
Like, it's like prophecy that came true. Like, I'm not like, I believe in Maxime because he has the right ideas. So I think there are a lot of examples like that. Like, we can get into example, like each an individual ministry that we can look at and just bring efficiencies.
Okay, you have something to say on this?
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah. What specific programs or services you think you would cut, and how would that impact Canadians?
Well, first off, it's the foreign aid, because right now foreign aid does not help the Canadians at all. What way, shape, or form it doesn't. That's the easy thing. In the case of other budget cuts, well, that can also be accomplished by simply doing a better job vetting contracts.
Correct.
You expose the contracts, you expose the bids, you can see who's, shall we say, inflating the numbers. Here in my riding, you take a look at here in Ontario and how long this wonderful railway has been taking to go there. Prior to its construction, I raised an issue with the MPP and pointed out in places in the United States that have done the exact same studies that Triplinks or whatever it is that did in evaluating the difference between buses, paint on the road, and streetcars, and financially how it works out. And every study I could find in the US, they keep showing up again and again, buses and paint, because buses can go around and navigate and they're significantly cheaper. And I'm sure plenty of people have seen construction sites where you have one person in the hole digging and you've got 10 people around watching them. I have videos I've taken along again here in Ontario under construction of the streetcar of them tearing up road sections. I know where I used to live in St. Clair and Bathurst area in Toronto way back during the construction of that one. They tore up St. Clair and Bathurst, I believe, 3 times because of reasons. And they had to replace huge sections of track because they became wavy and they were just installed incorrectly. Simply putting up the contracts up, this is the person who got the contract, this is what they got paid, and here it is fully exposed. Right there, you'll be able to catch a lot of misappropriation of money.
Right.
I haven't had to cut any budget from any department by somebody being able to see and audit that correctly to evaluate, well, this construction company keeps overcharging us by 3 times. Perhaps we should, change it to another company. Because right there, you're going to start saving a lot of money, especially when the federal government is the big piggy bank that everyone seems to be siphoning money off of. Those are very easy things that before you even get to cutting services or whatever, there's a lot there that needs to be done. And if I was
Getting optimized.
based on my experience, there's 10% of your spend of the budget right there on, I'm not going to use a very specific word that I believe that this is. In my opinion, there's a little bit of grift happening there. And in my opinion, there really should be an investigation and an auditing, in my opinion. And that's probably the easy step one.
Yeah. And I think just to add, I think the other part you asked is what programs you want to cut. I don't think we want to cut programs. What we want to do is cut the funding on stuff that we don't need to spend on and actually put back into our programs. We need to give more. 2 days ago, I talked to the senior guy. He had CPP coming, OS coming, and his job pension coming, and he still can't afford rent. He said, if my kids don't support me, I can't afford it. We can have all these programs, but are they actually doing anything for our citizens? No, they're not. We need to actually cut all the other excessive stuff and just put into that. I also want to make sure people don't misunderstand. Hey, federal employees, right? Nobody likes to do jobs, right? Lose jobs. We have to find efficiencies, but I think there's an opportunity to transfer those people into other stuff. We need to ramp up our border security force, right? A lot of people are coming in and going out and doing, God knows what all. We should bring those employees over. If there is an efficiency to that, they can do that job too, right? It's not about cutting programs. It's all about optimizing. Yeah, let's use our fiduciary duty or the government's fiduciary duties to serve its citizens, not anything else. That's it. And you need to do it the best way possible. And if you can run it like an enterprise and have checks and balances where you can see how they're doing, I think that would be a wonderful, and I wish we have that someday. Well, changing the topic a bit more towards immigration, which has been one of the hot topics, right? And most of the federal candidates or the government has been running for that or against that. Now, PPC has historically been seen more restrictive stance on immigration, right? Right. So, can you detail your party's specific immigration policies, which you think would impact Canada's economy, and how would it change the social fabric with the PPC's model or the thought process about immigration?
I think PPC's stand is very clear on this. We are the party who want to stop mass immigration, period. That's it. Okay. Now, what does that mean, right? We're not against immigrants because I'm an immigrant, right? A lot of the candidates that are running for PPC are immigrants. What we are against is unvetted, uncontrolled immigration in every sector. We need to bring in skilled people. We need to give them opportunities to actually thrive in Canada. Like, there is no point as an immigrant, there's no point in coming here if you're just gonna be in survival mode, right? If you're not gonna be able to build a Canadian dream, live a good life, buy a good house, right? Enjoy your life. Like, what is the point of having immigration if they're not going to be able to do that? And when we have excessive immigration, and you can see that everywhere on the streets, people are struggling for jobs. Why can't Canadian youth find jobs? So people would say, oh, there is lack of workforce. It's not true. Kids want to have jobs. They just, our government have created vehicles which allow companies to siphon money from federal programs and pockets to, for their own benefit. And I think we need to stop that. Like, we need to put a control on that and do immigration the right way. Like, we are here to there is no point in doing immigration so that everyone's life deteriorates, right? We need to increase the pie so that everybody can get a bigger pie.
Yeah, agree. So doesn't that come more towards, rather than immigration, it is more towards how the entire ecosystem should have been developed when the immigration is being there? Because recently, one of the ministers and I believe the main team member, they were saying that let's agree that 95% of the economic growth happens because of the immigrants or new immigrants, right? And maybe there are data which can be contrary to that. There could be data that could support that. We all have been immigrants here. So rather than targeting the immigration, because nobody was airdropped here, right? It was the federal policies where people came in absolutely legitimately. Absolutely. But they were failed because the ecosystem was not developed. Be it the jobs, be it the manufacturing sectors, be many other things. Right?
Well, yes. Because, the other thing is, okay, so last year it was 1 million people?
More than 1.2, I think.
Sure, yeah. What is, to me, this is my only sort of mention or nod to the Green Party here, is if you have 1 million people coming in, that is the population of Mississauga, effectively.
Yeah, 750.
Yeah. Or even more, though.
Even at a lot Celsius, right?
When did we build another city of Mississauga in Canada? I don't remember seeing anything about that. I don't see or remember that happening. So what ends up happening? Everything has to go up because 1 million people, they have to be fed, they have to have a place to live, they have to have all these other things. And we're only building, I think, 250,000 housing units across the country every year. So this is the case where people are going to have to double up in other people's basements or combinations like that. So the economic growth is misleading, horribly misleading, because, well, if you have 1 million people coming in there, they have to live somewhere. New things have to be constructed. Is that economic growth? Well, that's just housing created for them. And then you have to hire more people for the services that are needed there. Why do we have a doctor shortage? Well, because we can say, bring in 10,000 doctors, then bring in 1 million people. Those numbers don't jive. So as a result, you'll always be chasing it. That's why we have had a doctor crisis or a nursing crisis for over 30 years, because no one wants to crunch the numbers to say, if the population of growth is this, we need to be increasing our doctor hiring and training by this, or start stealing doctors from other countries, which is difficult because a doctor can get a better job in the US We don't pay our doctors well, and we do not pay our nurses well, and that's why everyone's leaving. So the simple solution there was separate, pay people more. But in the case of immigration, People's Party policy right now is a moratorium on it, right? Because we need to have more of these 250,000 housing units built with no additional influx of people to fill that all up. So that way people can move out of basements. People can, no longer live 3 families in a house. One of them can move off, one of them can move off. We don't have that opportunity. And we don't have the ability to have affordable housing if everyone wants it, right? It's simple supply and demand. What happens to the price of water in a disaster area? It's $10 a bottle. You need to bring in more bottles to bring the price down. It's pretty simple. Same thing with housing. You have 1 million people demanding $250,000 or 250,000 housing units.
And Nathan, the question always comes when it comes to immigration, and I have my own views on that. So just sharing that. It's always that they say, there's a data that nearly 25% of doctors are going to retire in maybe next 3 to 4 years in Ontario itself, right? So if we curb the immigration, or if we do not develop the infrastructure to put it in a better, right, or we do not have a proper transition of the foreign credentials, then how will that crisis be dealt with? So you do need immigration to come in, but in a proper structured way.
Correct. And even in the case of the moratorium, I'm pretty sure that certain cases like doctors and professionals will still always get in, because you still need, in the case of doctors, we need to get more doctors. Sure, let's double the number of graduates. Well, that's going to take 10 years, because a doctor graduating from, their undergrad and going into the medical field, it takes a long time, maybe 7 to 8 years. Right. So the only way you're going to solve the doctor problem is you have to import, and that's just the way it is. And in certain cases, it's going to have, more advanced AI development. You would have to bring in certain specialized people. There's always going to be the need for specialized talent import. And I don't think that we would want to necessarily stop that. But right now, it's an open door. And having stricter vetting and then relaxing it afterwards is how you can finally catch up on all of these issues.
And something that I want to add, I know quite a few doctors here who are practicing as, admin staff.
Or just driving Uber.
And driving Ubers. So perhaps a bridging group, to kind of really have these doctors work for us,
And that's an very important issue, because I have heard that exact same argument my entire life. Go back into the 90s. This was the exact same thing. We had doctors coming in, fully credentialed and who even conducted surgeries, coming into Canada, and they're taxi drivers or they're whatever. They're underemployed because they can't get the transition of credentials.
It's not easy.
And it's like, okay, well, why is there not a simple test? Why is it that this doctor cannot simply go into a first-year residency and within 1 year be fully vetted and fully approved? It's like, okay, this person did that. Over 30 years, the Conservatives have had a time to fix this. The Liberals have had a time to fix this. Jack Layton had time to fix this.
They all speak about it. Going to fix that.
Yeah, exactly. But the only reason it doesn't get fixed when everyone wants to do it is because nobody in any of these existing parties want it to happen. And the question is, dog's not barking. Why don't they want to fix it? If it's something that everyone agrees, hey, this is a big problem. It's been going on for over 30 years in multiple governments since Mulroney and probably before that. Why have they not done that? There's clearly a reason why they don't want to permit doctors to be vetted.
But Nathan, that also brings, and I believe that would be fair to ask, because PPC is also seen, right, that where PPC is little against diversity or equity or inclusion when it comes to the immigration per se of things. Now, given Mississauga's demographic, right, we are quite diverse in and a lot with immigration. So how do you think it will play out in this region when we, as PPC candidates, you say that, no, we want to curb on immigration, we do not want this?
I think let's just go back 1 second. So you asked a question that economic development comes from immigration, right? Is that true for every country in the world? Did China had to rely on immigration to become a powerhouse of manufacturing? No, right? Did you? Huh?
Did India?
Yeah, like in the change is happening in India. Where is the development coming from? It's coming from here. Now, this is, I think, a little bit of a divisive politics that's in play. Okay, if our GDP is increasing by 1 to 2%, and we are importing 5% of the population, is that 1 to 1? I think per capita GDP in Canada in 2014 was maybe close to 50,000, 55,000 per person, right? Right now it's 58, okay? So in 10 years, right, we have grown by what? Less than 5%,
Yeah.
right? We are the last in all of the OECD countries from a per capita GDP perspective. What that simply means is whoever is in Canada is getting poorer. Our real inflation is much higher than our growth number. Is that a good system to have, where you have growth based on just having more people on the table, right? Rather than all these people doing more, right? We would love to have growth. Absolutely. Which country doesn't want growth? But the growth should be happening to everybody, not just little by little, because it's inflating number. Now the GDP growth is happening because people who need to come in, they need to spend money. They need to eat food. They need to buy products to live. They need to have bank accounts. They need to get cell phones. They need to get cars. That's what's happening. But it's not that they are becoming richer or their pockets are growing, right? Everybody's becoming poorer. This is not a good situation. So when we say, the economy is growing, we don't, like, in reality, the economy only grows when everybody becomes richer. That's the growth we want. And we need to have manufacturing, innovation, business growing in this country. When since the last 10 years, investment per person or per worker into the business has gone down by 20%. How much foreign investment is happening in Canada? Zilch. Everybody's investing in US, right? We have the whole Canadian economy, GDP is less than the market cap of Nvidia. Like, is that the country we want? Like, we think we are a developed country, but everybody's getting poorer. Is that the growth you want? So think, if you take it out another 30 years, what will happen if we keep doing that? You will be poor, I'll be poor, more people.
Argument to that, Amit, is always, as a matter of discussion, is always investing on the growth of the business as an infrastructure, right? So why means coming back to the question that when we say that the issue is only immigration, right? It is a major issue is immigration. Because of the immigration, this is happening, or because in that that's a simplistic argument. Okay, yes.
So it's a little bit okay. Yeah, there's the GDP and immigration causing the increase in GDP. There's no question. A tourist does the same thing. Right? A tourist comes here, spends money, they're increasing the GDP, no doubt. And everyone who comes in, they land, they start spending money, they're automatically increasing it. Okay. And then after that, let's say they get a mortgage. Let's say they buy a house. That's a massive boost in GDP. Have they done actually anything to truly grow? Because growth, or the gross domestic product, it keeps getting used as economic growth. Yeah, it's not. You take a look at what it does and what you're calculating, there's no growth. Are you shipping more products to the US? Are you exporting more lumber to other countries? No, you're not growing the economy in that way. These are just numbers on the spreadsheet, goofed around to turn it into something. Has an immigrant who came in there and put in $1 million into the economy by buying a house with a mortgage? Well, the challenge here is the debt doesn't get subtracted by that contribution. They'll do the counting gimmick of, oh, let's count that purchase. That moved something, that's done that. But then there's debt that cancels it out. But they don't acknowledge that. It disappears. So yeah, oh wow, $1 million in growth. But there's still a debt that has to get paid off. It's zero growth that actually happened. But if you're able to cook the books and change your interpretation, it changes. And in the case of the GDP per capita, well, who cares about that? How does it compare when you factor in inflation and you use the correct dollar terms based on people's salaries, incomes, and affordability, and whatever in the past? My grandfather was a bell technician. He was able to retire with a pension. He had paid off his house long ago. They had a cottage, they had a boat, all on a single person income of a bell technician that went out there in the rain, in the snow, in the sleet, splicing fiber optics and other things like that. That is a lifestyle that most people, including immigrants that are arriving here, will never be able to achieve. It is gone because the money doesn't go as far anymore. So people are working 2 jobs now. They're having to sublet their entire basement of their house.
Everybody's in a survival mode.
It's a survival mode.
To be thriving, that's the point. Like, if we bring in, that's what I was saying. Immigrants who come in, they come in with a dream, right? Like they want to have a better life. But are we really giving them a better life, right? Are we putting them in this cycle of this hamster wheel of just, paying bills, paying bills? It's like, that's
The zero is simply just an illusion. This is called the bait and switch. Here, come in here, you can do this, whatever, get your mortgage. And then now you're in debt $1 million and you're going to have to pay it off. Your children will have to pay it off because if they want to keep the house after you die, they'll still have $500,000 to pay off on the house. Like, it's a bait and switch. So the reality of it is that a lot of people, some people we talk to are thinking about, well, maybe it's time to go back home because they're in the retirement phase. They're looking at the finances, they're looking at everything else like that. And it's a grip and difficult. So it ends up being, if you are falsely advertising to people, this is what you can achieve here. And then, well, it was a lie because you can't do it anymore. That's a problem.
a simple math would be, right? If you bring in, let's say, 1.5 million immigrants, did we create 1.5 million jobs in the ecosystem? That means we are growing, right? Otherwise, we are not. That would have been an ideal system, right? It's an ideal system that it's like should have been. That's what I think that's what we need to strive for, that everybody who comes here can have a good life, right? If everybody is worse off, why do we need to keep pushing that? So just adding the numbers.
Yeah. Okay, just a very quick follow-up question. So what are those specific ministries you think are unnecessary and, you can do away with?
I should have brought a list, but I don't have the list.
Drop like a few names that would go.
I think so. There are some ministries that really just focus on issues outside of Canada. They should all be rolled up in their one ministry and report to either Ministry of Finance or somebody else, right? I don't have the exact list, but I think the last cabinet we had 37 cabinet ministers, right? Now we have, I think, 26 or 27. Don't quote me, I could be wrong on that, but there are less ministers right now. And it's really up to the Prime Minister to decide in our system how many ministers he's going to appoint in the cabinet and how many ministries he's going to create. How does that happen? Did somebody wake up and decide, oh, we should have a new department today, and maybe we should not have a new department or that department tomorrow? I think this is all just ways to find, in my thinking, to, just get the money outflowing from the system, right?
Okay. One particular thing which has been one of the founding principles or the reasons why Voice of Mississauga came was the voters' apathy, right?
Yes.
And we have seen one of the lowest turnouts in the elections, right? So Mississauga has some of the lowest voter turnouts we have always seen. I think some less than 40% voter turnout. Why is this? And why is there no particular outreach to the larger communities? Or is it something that the people who are running for the ridings, they are comfortable with their own vote banks and they are not doing further outreach? What could be the programs or policies which as candidates or as a party we should be doing to encourage this voter turnout?
I think you said it. People who are already in power, there is no incentive for them to change it, right? Why change it if it's working for them? In our provincial elections, we call a snap election, did a short, campaign, and we had the lowest turnout ever in the system because they want that to happen. People in the power, they want that to happen. They don't want to make it easy because it's convenient for them. I think one of the easiest things we can do to
increase voter participation is like we should have a holiday on the voting day. Like, why not? Everybody should have a holiday. It's a public holiday. Go vote. And every party, rather than saying, vote for me, this guy is bad, this gal is bad, this is that, they should be telling people, first go vote, right? And I would be honored to have your vote if you decide to choose me, but go vote. That's not their intention. Their intention is to have the people who have committed to them that they will vote for them, take them out to vote, right? That's the system. Now, I think why this is happening is I think people just don't trust politics. They think their wishes and their priorities are ignored. Nobody listens to them. Like, I lived in Brampton for a little bit less than 10 years. I never saw my MP come to my door. He never asked me what I want. Not even single time. But yes, I did see his flyer drop on my door, right? I think that needs to change. Like, these guys are not available. I heard just yesterday they sent an email to their MP 3 times, not even a single.
Yeah, because most of the MPs are visible only during the ballots. That's what the people say.
And that's because it works for them, right? They already have created these vote banks. I wouldn't say vote banks, but affiliations, long-time affiliations, right? People, I went door knocking in Niagara for one of our candidates. And I met this adult, probably close to 30 years old. And I asked her, hey, do you know about this? And her answer was, oh, I vote for this party because my parents vote for it. Yeah. Right. And I'm going to vote for what my parents have. A 30-year-old person is saying that. Like, I don't understand that. Like we should not be. Like, what I tell people is your vote is your vote. It's not a party's vote. It's not a religious vote. It's not a colored vote. It's not a special interest vote. It's your vote. It's your right. What you need to do is look at the candidates you have, right, in your writing and vote for that candidate. Vote for your principles, what you really believe in. But unfortunately, in our country, people vote for parties, not their candidates. And, there is not a vested interest in changing that.
No, most of it, unfortunately, means people in our country do not vote itself.
Right.
And one of the reasons where we come from, and what we saw, that one is definitely the people are not engaged.
Yeah.
They're not interested.
Right.
Not because they have not been approached or they are not even aware of the systems.
Right.
That is one thing which means, just adding to that, we all came as immigrants here. And that has been our pitch always, that Canada keeps you busy. Either you would have come as a student or as a worker or as a PR directly. By the time you become a citizen here, it might have been 3 years, 5 years, 7 years. And that has kept you so busy that you have lost the touch with the land. So where you belong to. When we ourselves have conducted multiple surveys, when we talk to people, where do you stay? They know their address. I am in a detached, this, that, and all. Which ward are you in? They are not aware of it.
Right. You're right.
Absolutely.
So they are absolutely unaware of the political fabric of the system, and we do not see the other side of the thing where there has been enough of education or enough of town halls or the community events done by the candidates to encourage that.
I would add to that, there is very less outreach from the candidates themselves.
So here is the thing, like what I can say for myself, like I'm trying to meet people, okay? And it's not about that. We are not doing any outreach. Outreach happens because of your supporters, because of the people that engage with you. We are a small party, right? We have limited resources and we need to use that wisely, right? And we do as much outreach as we can. Like I would love, if anybody wants to talk to me, I would love to sit down and talk to you. Like absolutely. If you go to my Facebook, facebook.com/voteamit, and I'll be putting my site up, voteamit.ca. I will have my number there. Call me. I will, I'm happy to come and sit down with you guys and discuss anything and everything. It's all on the table, right? I'm not a politician. I'm standing up because I felt something wrong happening in our country. I'm really concerned that, I have had a blessed life. I think, we're living a wonderful life, but my kids may not be able to achieve that when they grow up. They're not going to have the same level of opportunity that we have. It's going to be very different. Yeah, we are willing to talk. Absolutely, anytime.
So for the voter outreach, to me, at least, it's number one, It's the apathy. Do I vote for this person who wants to steal half my paycheck or this one that wants to steal 49%? That's fundamentally the top answer right there. It's the how much of my money am I going to lose in taxes? There's no difference. And everyone wants to spend money and award money to, buddies that happen to have businesses. Was it SNC, Lavalin, shadiness?
I guess it's corruption in ground.
It's all sorts of shadiness that happens, and this is undisputable. Another one is for the purposes of outside of election period. Yeah, there are certain programs I know for myself I wanted to launch and do starting this spring here to help get people's awareness, to help with membership and boosting people more engaged. However, because of snap election, that gets delayed. Will it happen after the election? Potentially, yeah. In which case, then there's going to be a lot more visibility and noise being made to get people engaged. And the other problem with the engagement is, people just have to get the interest. In the case of not voting, giving a holiday on the voting on the day of the election, 20th or whatever, that's not going to help at all. Because you have advanced voting polls. You've got plenty of opportunity to vote. You have realistically 4 different days you can go out and vote. The issue is not availability. Some of these days are on the weekend. This is not the issue. $100 tax credit if you voted. Yeah, Revenue Canada is a holistic idea. Revenue Canada collects your information on your taxes, the one checkbox saying, share it with Elections Canada. Right, great. So we now know that there's a database that's developed. People who have voted or the Elections Canada gets all their information from Revenue Canada.
It's kind of mandating the vote then that you have to go out and vote.
No, it's not a mandate at all. There's no forcing of anything. It's simply, if you voted on this particular year of the vote, you get $100 tax credit on your tax return.
That's an interesting one, yeah.
That means you use tax credits to support the candidates, and why not for this?
Yeah, exactly. And it's the case where
This is more important than getting a tax rate for supporting the candidate.
not only that, but let's say you have 30 million or 20 million people are eligible to vote. Let's say you have 20 million people. It's probably way high, but that's $100, 20 million people. That cost is not that much. It's a rounding.
Oh, we'll surely take this, Nitin, and we will push it to that. That's a good idea. I'm very sure they might have or might not have thought for it, but why not? Because they are giving tax credit for a lot of other things.
Exactly. Because again, this is an election. It sets the future of the whole country through maybe 5 years. You don't want to drop $2 billion
More or anything.
Get warm, boys.
We gave $1 billion in just last 10 days of the cabinet. One's like, come on, this happened every 4 years.
I would draw your attention back to something that concerns all of us, healthcare, and how do you see the federal interference in healthcare and the ER rates, shortages of doctors, availability? How do you take care of
This is all the same thing. It's by design, right? It's been going on for 30 years. And the fact that it hasn't changed because they don't want it to change. It's simple solutions. Even the simple case I talked about in our the last video, which is, I checked. It's $250,000 to $500,000 for an MRI machine. Yeah. Why not drop $10 billion of whatever is being spent on foreign aid into MRI machines? Peel region, based on population, whatever, it would probably equate to maybe 300 machines being added to the system. A full body MRI scan will detect cancers at stage 1, stage 0, or even before then. You simply do a full body scan. In the US, you can get it done for $3,000. Government money here, it's done for free or whatever. It's a full body MRI. If you have cancer developing in your toe, it will be shown there, as well as a whole host of other potential problems. What's cheaper for us in healthcare spending? Treating a stage 3 cancer patient or stage 1 or stage 0. Yeah. So as soon as you drop that initial expense on those machines, well, you now are able to catch a lot more people in that earlier stage and you're saving money from that perspective. So that's just something I pulled off the top of my head. Well, why don't we do that? Because I myself wanted to spend the money and get a full body MRI just for my own informational purposes. Right, just as a quick diagnostic. You turn 40 years old and hey, why not, get a full body MRI just to get a nice status then?
Yeah.
Why not?
Just to add to that, I think, it is, healthcare in Canada is a provincial
Absolutely.
responsibility.
However, at federal level, we give federal government is responsible on giving funding to provinces for many reasons. Now, the healthcare is declining because, our population is increasing. We don't have that many schools that can train doctors. Doctors who are here don't want to stay because they don't get paid well. I know at least 3 doctors in Brampton, family physicians who want to leave just because they just can't keep up. Like it's not enough for the time they're investing. They would rather go to the US, live a better life and do that, right? And so we need to do multiple things. One is, I think this is also tied to immigration, right? Like this more people with the same number of facilities puts strains on the system, right? So we need to have some kind of mechanism to balance it out. Like if we need to build more hospitals as the immigration increases or build more cities. Now, what federal government should be doing is, and I keep coming back to this scorecard at every government level. If provincial government needs any support from federal, there should be some requirements that need to be met, right? And if you excel those, and part of that could be a health card scorecard, is your wait times decreasing, your citizens, your residents have access to family physicians.
And have to be in a measurable way. It has to be in a transparent way.
Right, in transparency. So the federal government, rather than giving $1 billion in the last 10 days, we can give $1 billion to the province to go build a hospital, go do something else, right? Like it's not a complicated thing. We can find efficiencies just in our current system right now. Canada makes a lot of money, right? We have been hampered just by stupid regulations and things and policy practices and the grift in the system, right? That is happening for, they're just dividing us on things that actually don't matter, and the things that matter nobody's actually talking about. That's the real problem in politics, right? And that's what needs to be done. Like we bring more, we put more money into healthcare based on how you're doing. We need to go from curative care to preventative care, right? That's where we will be able to actually provide more service, keep people healthy, and actually spend less money because, yes, doing the surgery costs more than just giving them, early care.
Last but not the least, of coming to the housing affordability.
Yeah.
It has always been one of the major concerns, right? So how do you plan to make it more affordable when it comes to the rentals, mainly in Mississauga area, where let's focus on this.
So this is just supply and demand kind of thing, right? Like think about it. It's a very simple equation, right? The more demand we have in the ecosystem, the prices are going to go up. Mississauga is landlocked. I don't think we have a lot of area to grow. So the only place to grow is up, right?
Yep.
So I think, we have had minimal investment in infrastructure that supports high density areas. I think there has to be a concerted effort in figuring out a model where we can make it easier for people to move around or bring more businesses into, let's say, Mississauga, so people don't have to rely on excessive transportation to go out. I think that's the way to go. That's what we need to focus on. Figuring out density, bringing back businesses into the system, because that's going to drive our economy. Businesses will pay taxes, people will pay taxes, want to live here, and that's going to ultimately nudge the needle. Will it solve it? I don't think so. I think what really needs to happen to solve it is construction, right? We have been building 250,000 homes since 20 years.
Nationwide,
right? 250,000 homes. It hasn't changed. Every party, you can hear any campaign, we will build more homes, we'll build more homes, we'll build more homes. How?
well, it's the collective we. Not
Yes.
government will do it.
Yeah.
Someone will magically do it.
Right? Someone. And it hasn't changed since.
As Quality Council has recently, from the Mississauga level,
Yeah.
I think they have come out with some approvals for construction of new homes.
Right. And it's approvals. The bureaucracy needs to decrease. We need to make a simpler process. The construction fees, the levies that we have in our local and provincial levels need to decrease, because, I think right now building a new home, there is about $200,000 just in fee that goes into building a house.
Okay, I have my own experience in building a house. Okay, about 10 years ago, we were looking at building a house, Go out, try going out. Anyone who's watching this, try going out onto various websites or MLS. Find a piece of land. Yeah, try to build them yourself. You can't. Builders are able to buy sections of land. They're able to buy in large blocks and then go off and build hundreds of townhomes or whatever. You don't have the ability to really do that yourself. Or you'll find a piece of land that's really far away. You literally have to go on to the other side of the green belt if you want to build your own house. And that's unfortunate. And you take a look, again, all these fees and stuff like that is such that there is no small-time builder building a new house. You have to go through all sorts of regulation on a dilapidated house in the city where someone will do a job on it to renovate it to then turn around and flip it and sell it. You can't just go and knock it down and build a duplex or triplex or whatever to create more housing units for people. There's all sorts of regulations that have to be, gone along. And it's like, are you serious about housing or not? Are you serious about the environment or not?
Right.
If you are, there are certain things you need to do in order to do this. And simply passing on the buck to someone else, no, you're not serious. Like, what are you doing here? Is kind of the situation. Like, if you're serious about getting elected, you go door to door.
Yeah.
As opposed to just letting things happen or whatever. So in the case of here, yeah, there'll be some feet that have to get stomped on by the federal government if they want to solve the housing problem. And that's going to be, well, let's start building it. And there's the argument of the green belt or whatever, policies, philosophies, whatever. The curious thing is you can build on the other side of the green belt. It's a belt. It's a finite area. Beyond that, to which highways run up to, say, Barrie, like there's a whole area beyond the green belt that can be readily developed on. Has always been developable, even during the Dalton McGuinty years. They could do that. But the key point is we have this weird selective reasoning for why this part of the land cannot be developed, but on the other side of it can, but then here, there, wherever. Do you want affordable housing or not? You're going to have to make some decisions. And one of the big ones is letting farmers who want to sell their land, sell their land. There's no argument valid for if the farmer owns the land, why can they not do something with it? Because all the people that happen to be in the city of Mississauga that have farmland and you can drive around and see, especially my riding, yes, there's farmland. That farmer is going to get rich or whoever. They have that opportunity. Farmers within the Greenbelt area, they can't. It's literally you farm, with a whip at your back, or you plant trees and give it to the city for nothing, or a tax credit or whatever. It's like, that's horribly unfair. And on the other side of it, sure, you can build there, but we have no intention of ever providing highways or mass transit of any sort of degree.
I think the other part, which is really important is, people will move where there are jobs, right? So until you bring back, if we stay a services economy, it's going to be consolidated into a certain area. There are only certain companies do services, right? So we need to figure out a way to get manufacturing into our society so that people can open small plants in smaller areas where people can have jobs, and then they will buy houses, right? It's
something we used to have as well.
Yeah.
Past every we did. Like, I have storage cabinets, shelving, commercial units at home, made in Canada. Tables, furniture, made in Canada. This is not a new thing. Canada used to manufacture their own furniture because prior to the free trade stuff, there were tariffs before free trade and NAFTA. And so it's something that we're fully capable of doing. And yeah, let's start doing that again, because AI cannot automate a factory that makes furniture.
Yeah. I want to, in the end, I think we need to go figure out more ways to get revenue into the notice system, right? Rather than increasing taxes. Like, by the way, we are all for lowering taxes, once, and nobody's talking about this, which is surprising in this election. We need to balance the budget, right? We are spending and spending and spending. Our budget has increased from, I think, $200 some billion deficit, from $200 some billion to about $450 billion now under the Trudeau regime, right? The guy openly said, he doesn't understand math and the budget will balance itself. Like, I don't know how he got elected, but like, politicians need to start talking about balancing the books, right? It's the real common sense, right? You and I cannot earn $2,000 and spend $5,000, but that's what our politicians are doing. You can keep promising all the programs, take this free, take this free, take this free, but in the end, somebody has to pay for it. Like, you can't do that, and you can't have lower taxes and more services. You can do that. So our policy and our focus is to balance the books, and I think through the things we have talked about, we can do that. We can increase the top line and decrease the bottom line, and do that. And then once that's done, we want to simplify tax structure. We want to abolish capital gains, absolutely zero. No capital gains taxes, so that we can reinvest that money into our economy and simplify the tax code to only two tax brackets. And that will lower taxes for everybody. Like, the funny thing is, everybody, like Mr. Carney and the Liberals and the Conservatives, have announced tax breaks, but they have so limited conditions of those tax breaks that it actually doesn't help everybody, right? They have announced programs for childcare, but you exclude such a big population of people that cannot avail those services, right? We need to be a little bit more, our services should be available to all citizens. In order to do that, we have to balance the book, right? Start cutting taxes so we can start growing our economy. That's where the real growth will come in. Now, when we talk about immigration, I wanted to say that, I know we are getting to the end, is why don't we incentivize our citizens to have kids? Now, this could be an idea, is like, if you are young and you have a kid, the government will give you $20,000 that you cannot access for 20 years, put in an index fund, right? If you have a kid, if the Canadian citizens and residents have kids. After 20 years, you get that money. You want to have 5 kids, have 5 kids. That 20 years at 10% just market return will grow into about $400,000, $500,000. You have 2 kids, you get $1 million. You have 3 kids, you get 1.5. People don't have kids here because they're worried about affordability. They can't even pay rent. How are they going to afford kids, right? So there needs to be a will to actually do the right thing. I think that's hopefully so. And in fact, right?
It's so, I'd say on the balanced budget issue is that, again, what doesn't get talked about for people who do say balanced budget or allude to that, that national debt is important. The national debt is not going to be paid by necessarily the people who are watching this. Is going to be paid, I think, by the citizens, specifically their children and grandchildren. If you immigrated to Canada, you're now a citizen, great. Your children are going to be citizens, great. They're getting the bill. So the government is giving you freebies right now today so that your children will pay that bill when it comes in the future. That's what the national debt is. Someone's got to pay it at some point, or whole economy and country collapses, but ultimately someone's going to pay that. Might not be you, but it'll be your children and your grandchildren or your great-grandchildren.
Wouldn't it be funny, like, if you, with your citizenship oath ceremony, you get this bill saying now you owe $50,000 to Canada?
Well, that's also one of the reasons. Remember, that national debt gets spread across all the citizens. The citizens you bring in, it spreads that debt out.
So now we leave this thought. Thanks a lot, both of you, for the thoughts. I'll give still 30 seconds to each of you as a final statement, which you can appeal to your voters. Why should they come and support you for?
Oh, I go first. Okay. So I would say to vote for me if you're interested in somebody who is going to be continuing on the door-to-door, talking to people and finding out what their concerns are after the election. That's something that I was planning to do, and I will probably continue to do that as long as the People Party will let me to do so. Don't just, talk to the people or want to work with the people that come by every 4 years or every 5 years or whatever it is. No, be consistent. Don't just show up to photo ops and, look fantastic when there's no work actually being done of actually talking to people. You spend 4 hours at a factory, people who aren't even in the riding, or you go door to door. You get some exercise, which is nice, and do that.
Okay. Amazing. Yeah, I think for me, what I would say is don't vote for me if you don't want to change. Let me put it that way. But if you want real change, from a person who is not a politician, and who will only look out for the interest of Canada and its citizen, vote for me. If you want career politicians, there are many out there, might be better suited for your vote. We are here to make a real change, make a real impact for Canadians and make our lives better. That's why we are standing up for. And if that makes sense, then you vote for me, please. I would be honored to have your vote.
And either way, we encourage you to go vote.
Yes, go vote.
Being a non-partisan platform as Voice of Mississauga, we'll be talking to the candidates of all the parties and let them come forward and put their views, why they stand for and why should one go and vote for them. But either way, we encourage each and every one of you to come out for vote. First change would be to increase this overall voter turnout. So I think that will be the biggest change which we all are aspiring to be, and hopefully all of you go out and vote. Thanks a lot.
And if you like this video, hit a like and subscribe to our channel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.